Hello, everybody. Today we are going to discuss a very beautiful, humorous short story written by William Somerset Maugham. The title of the short story is The Luncheon. William Somerset Maugham, apart from writing short story, he has also written dramas and novels, and he belongs to Britain. The Luncheon by William Somerset Maugham is a humorous short story written in the first person narrative. The piece is filled with ironic situations and witty dialogues, and the panic and stress of the narrator's perspective make it all the more amusing and relatable. The luncheon is written mostly in past tense. It starts in the present tense when the narrator runs into a lady he had met 20 years ago. After this, a majority of the plot of the story is in the form of the narrator's flashback to their first meeting, a very fascinating encounter. What is interesting is that Mom delivers his very clever one liner at the very end of the story, right after the flashback. The memory builds the humor and mood of the reader, while the concluding line represents an abrupt yet smooth and memorable ending. The main theme of the story are pride, humorous shamelessness, and the contrast of expectations and reality. Mom employs repeated dialogues to emphasize the irony, and the chronological order of the restaurant scene is one of the highlights in building the narrator's anxiousness. The story begins in the present time when the narrator catches sight of a lady in a theatre, a lady whom he met in the past, but it had been so long that he would not have recognized her if someone did not mention her name. He then thinks back to the first time they met. It was 20 years ago in Paris. The narrator was barely making ends meet, and the lady, about 40 years old at the time, had called him to speak about a book of his that she had recently read. She then asked if they could meet over luncheon for a chat, as she was passing through Paris soon. She suggested a restaurant called Foyt, which is far above the narrator's financial capacity. But he was too flattered at the invitation from a woman, and hence he calculated his savings and planned how he should live the next few weeks to be able to spend for the lunch at Foyt's. This is the beautiful inner view of Restro Foyt, where the lady wanted to meet the writer in order to have some chat and discussion about the book which he has written recently. The woman was older and more imposing than the narrator expected. The narrator was prepared to listen to her words, though, as he was going to speak about him, the menu arrived, and everything was more expensive than the narrator thought. Luckily, the lady said she barely eats anything at luncheon. She thinks people eat too much these days, and she only eats one single thing. She requests just a small fish or a salmon. The narrator became nervous. Salmon was very expensive, and it wasn't even on the menu. Nonetheless, he ordered it for her. However, in the waiting time, the waiter asked them whether they would like to order something till their salmon came. The lady replied, no, for she never eats more than one thing, unless it's a little caviar. The narrator's heart sank, for caviar is expensive as well. So he ordered it for her, but only got the cheapest item on the menu for himself, mutton chops. The salmon on one hand and the caviar on the other. Both are very delicious but equally expensive. She was disdainful of his order, telling him it was unwise to eat heavy meat for lunch. How could he do work? Then came the question of drinks. He told her he never had drinks with luncheon, to which she agreed, before adding that her doctor does not let her drink anything but champagne, which is extremely expensive. The narrator paled and ordered half a bottle, getting water for himself. As the lady ate her salmon and caviar, she chatted happily about art, music, and literature. But all the narrator could think of was whether he would be able to afford the bill. When his mutton chops arrived, the lady suggested that he follow her example by eating just one thing, rather than eating so heavily which spikes his annoyance. The champagne which the lady ordered for herself for drink. Finally, the waiter came back with the menu, asking if there was anything else. The lady waved him off, saying she only eats one single thing at luncheon, but it would be a shame to leave Paris without having some asparagus. The narrator was horrified, but he still managed to ask the waiter, hoping the answer would be no. Unfortunately for him, the waiter said it was indeed in stock, and so the narrator asked the lady whether she wanted it. She replied, saying that she never ate much for luncheon, but if he insisted, she would have some asparagus. As they waited for their order, the narrator felt panicked. He had no idea how much money he had left. He tried to form a plan for what he would do if he could not procure the money to pay off the meal. The beautiful, delicious asparagus, which is quite famous in France. The asparagus arrived with a tantalizing smell, and the narrator pretended not to be tempted as the woman ate them all. As she finished, he offered her a coffee, to which she smoothly added an ice cream as well. The narrator knew by now that it was all the same. He had to spend far more than he predicted either way. So he ordered what she asked, and she told him as she ate her ice cream that one should always get up from the table feeling like they could eat more. He asked her hesitatingly if she was still hungry, and she said shamelessly that she never eats at luncheon. She was talking about the narrator. Just as they were about to leave, a terrible thing happened. The head waiter came to see them, bearing a basket of peaches. Peaches were not in the season, which means they would be all the more expensive. The lady drank coffee, and after that she has eaten the ice cream, and finally she took a basket of peaches along with herself. The lady took a peach, telling the narrator not to have one himself. She told him that he had eaten heavy meat for lunch, hence would have no space. Meanwhile, she did not eat much at all, just enough for a snack. Therefore, she could have a peach. The bill was extremely high, and the narrator only had enough money left for an inadequate tip, 3 francs. The woman side eyed him, assuming that he was mean spirited for his low tip, but all he could think was that he was broke for the rest of the month. The woman told him to follow her lead from then on. Like her, never eat more than one thing at lunch. When he replied dryly that he would do better by not having dinner either, she praised his humor and hopped into a cab, leaving. Now, back in present time, at the theatre, the narrator thinks he has finally had his revenge for that irritable incident, for the woman is almost unrecognizable, now weighing 21 stone. It is important to note that both the woman and the narrator remained unnamed throughout the story. This is possibly done to center the story around their characteristics and dynamics, especially. Though we do not know the woman's or the narrator's name, we can very clearly picture them in our minds. The Luncheon is a brilliant example of a character sketch done right. So this is all about this beautiful and humorous video. Hope you all have enjoyed this video. Thank you very much.